With the help of Western reforms, Ukraine's banking sector is in robust shape. In planning their futures, many Ukrainians took out loans to start businesses, renovate their homes, travel, and educate their kids. Because banking services were digitalized, loans were easy to access. Ms. Olesya Kovalchuk, a Ukrainian refugee who opened a private school in Kharkiv, was one of them.
Будівлю, в якій зараз знаходиться наша школа, ми збудували спортивний майданчик в школі, а це коштувало немало, і банк надав нам кредит. Ми мали досить гарну кредитну історію, тож змогли це зробити.
The war ruins everything. Rockets are threatening all of Ukraine. Nowhere in the country is safe. Millions of Ukrainians are in search of new, safe homes. Over 7 million left Ukraine for Europe, mostly women with kids. To start life in a new country, one needs resources. Access to finance is crucial. Millions of proactive and motivated people find themselves unable to participate in the financial system. Forcefully displaced people face the need to pay rent or find a decent job. Millions need to validate their identities. These are big challenges for all market players, including EU banks. More than 4 million people have applied for temporary protection in EU countries, mostly women and children. They have begun building new lives in safety. Olesya opened a new school in nearby Warsaw, but the school is not big enough to accommodate 400 kids, and she cannot apply for a loan.
Розуміємо, що ми не маємо кредитної історії в Польщі, і так як наша фундація тільки заснована, то ми розуміємо, що, на жаль, це мало ймовірно. Якщо б у нас було додаткове фінансування, то ми б могли відкрити не цю школу, а більшу.
Olesya's credit history is good in Ukraine. However, Polish banks didn't know that. Luckily, Polish banks now have access to the credit histories of 42 million Ukrainians. This was possible because of the IFC's Advisory Digital Data Corridors initiative, which helps millions of Ukrainian refugees in European Union host countries access finance. IFC initiated a coalition of credit bureaus, financial institutions, and industry experts to create a digital data corridor.
Of course, everything started with the idea of first and humanitarian aid, with a very clear inclination for being non-commercial driven and rather to support people who are displaced to outside Ukraine. But obviously we are aware that to make this initiative sustainable in the medium long run, there must be a commercial.
Access to financing would make it possible for Ukrainian refugees to learn a language, find a job, or eventually start a business. This would significantly simplify the adaptation process for hundreds of thousands of people in new environment.
The whole economy, the whole country could beneficial from our guests living in Poland, because at the beginning they need support, of course, but if they stay, they would get a job. They would pay taxes, they buy some goods, they invest maybe, so they would support the market, our economy, and the labor market, of course. Because in the past it was the real issue in Poland, just to find the good personnel to all companies.
A credit history accessible to banks provides a detailed financial portrait of a client, a financial history for the last 8 to 10 years. It shows whether and to what extent an individual is responsible and committed to meet his or her obligations. The Ukrainian banking system is now one of the global leaders in terms of digitalization. That's why Ukrainian credit histories are of top quality.
I was really surprised that you are at the very high level of digitalization, because actually the Ukrainian bureaus we deal with have APIs, very well established documentation, a lot of API services, and many of them do not exist in Poland. But I think Poland is also quite sophisticated in terms of digitalization, especially banks. But I was positively surprised that Ukrainian our partners are also at a very high level of digitalization, and it helps us a lot, to establish this connection, I would say, because actually we talk to them like from the same level.
IFC survey demonstrates that the needs of displaced people from Ukraine differ a lot from the demands of traditional refugees, while the latter typically ask for a basic, simple range of services at a minimum cost. Ukrainians accustomed to a strong and well-developed banking system at home and looking for more sophisticated products in the new place.
First and foremost, I would say it is potentially a significant new segment for the banks here. In terms of size, unfortunately, because of high number of people that had to leave the country. And second, once again, because there might be very significant good client in terms of repayment capacity and also in generating requests for more sophisticated and so more rewarding services for the banks.
One of the barriers for banking institutions working displaced people is the lack of certainty of how long they might stay in a host country. Secondly, whether they would be willing to repay loans should they return home. The National Bank of Ukraine insists there will be no problems. Ukrainians recognize the value of a good credit history, which is a precondition for growth.
Ukraine seeks its candidate member state for European Union, and it seeks to become the European Union member in a couple of years, which is confirmed by our government and by our state officials. But even now, we understand that we have already discussed it with our colleagues from BIK, that the exchange of information on credit history of Ukrainian citizens with member states of European Union is a two-way street, meaning that not only the financial institutions here in Poland or any other member state will receive the information from Ukrainian credit bureaus, but also all the information that is accumulated during the Ukrainian citizens' stay in the European Union will be sent back to Ukraine in order to be also assessed during any future cooperation with financial institution of this citizen of Ukraine.
The ability to maintain a good credit history, the ability to be able to display the credit history in a digital form is key. And for the knowledge we have of the Ukrainian market, as we've been working quite for a long time as World Bank IFC in Ukraine, specifically on the credit reporting sector, the level of awareness of the Ukrainians are fairly high in terms of, even higher compared to some Western European countries.
Currently, experts from the Digital Data Corridor Initiative are closely watching migrant flows to determine better which countries should have priority, and accessing the credit history of Ukrainians can better integrate and grow in their host countries.
We target Poland first for obvious reasons. We have a tier 2 group of countries, Moldova, Czech Republic, Baltics, Slovak Republic. But then there will be, let's say, the tier 3, which is Austria, Germany, Italy, and will follow. So
we believe that digital data corridors will establish a stronger link between people and businesses in Europe, promoting a new system to support digital services and creating robust markets in the context of humanitarian crisis. IFC is firmly committed to expanding financial inclusion through digitalization. For many millions of forcefully displaced people from Ukraine and other countries, we find creative ways to connect them back to the financial system, build economic resilience, and reap the benefits of financial inclusion.